the Association for Manufacturing Technology, and we have a very special edition of our monthly USMTO report with our VP of Strategic Analytics, Pat McGibbon. How are you today, Pat?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm not in 20 inches of snow at home. I'm here in Florida with the sun shining. It's wonderful.
So give us the monthly rundown.
Well, numbers for January end, and January's USMTO orders were down about 5% from where they were in January of 13, and not unexpectedly, they were down 33% from December. And the reason it wasn't unexpected is because our guys there in Washington did one of those crazy things. They passed a law at the end of November that gave opportunity for getting a discount or a tax rebate for equipment you bought retroactively back into the beginning of 2014, which meant that everybody was trying to do as much buying in the last 6 weeks of the year as they could possibly do. But you got to have it on your floor by December 31st for it to count. So there was a lot of movement in machines that were in inventory and in machines that were sitting in bonded warehouses waiting to clear customs. And we can tell that from two different ways, that this was a rush in December because you saw the statistics we get on imports and exports. We see what comes into the country and we see what clears customs. And in November and December, you saw more coming out of customs than came into the country. So that means that they were clearing through inventories they had in the bonded warehouses. The second thing that tells us this is the average value. The average value for machines sold in January jumped almost 20% over where it was in December and November. And what that really says is that the machines that were being pushed or ordered in November and December and trying to get into people's shops were the less expensive pieces of equipment, less sophisticated, don't need as much application engineering to get on the floor and begin producing basic kind of stuff you have in inventory. So those two things make us feel pretty comfortable that this isn't a reflection of what's going on in the market. This is a reflection of an externality, a tax law being passed at the end of the year that really just boosted December considerably above where it would have normally been if that hadn't been passed. So as we look right now, talking to the people around the conference here, listening to Eli Lustgarten, who just came off the stage with a very promising outlook for 2015 for manufacturing technology orders, we're still confident that as we go through the first part of this year, we're going to be on a really nice pace to see a 5 to 7% growth rate by the end of the year. We'll probably do a little bit better than 5 to 7% here at the beginning of the year, and probably see a little bit more of a 1 to 3% kind of pace at the end of towards the end of the year as we get to the fourth quarter. I think part of that's because right now we're not feeling much of a pinch from decline of energy prices, having an impact on capital expenditures from energy industries like Cameron, Baker Hughes, those people. They did most of their buying in the middle to beginning of last year. They would have normally been taking a little bit of a pause in the fourth quarter. What we'll see is they won't be coming back during the summer months this year because they'll have plenty of capacity with as long as oil's at its current rate, $40 to $50 a barrel. But a lot of still strength about the things we talked about last month. Auto industry, aerospace industry, medical equipment, all on a growth. Eli painted somewhat of a dimmer picture for agricultural equipment. They had a big boom for the last 2 years to meet requirements for emissions controls, and because farmers had some significant cash in their pockets from bumper crops in the previous 2 years before that. Still get the prices for all commodities, including food, have been hit severely. A little bit of an oversupply, everything from oil to corn. And until we see prices on those type of things come back up again, and absorption of all the new equipment that's been bought in the last 2 years, agriculture, mining, going to be a little bit soft. But again, as he was saying, 70-30. 30% of our markets are not doing real well right now, but 70% of them are doing great, and will pull us beyond where we were in 2014.
So at the end of the day, you're saying there's no reason to panic?
No, there's no reason to panic. I mean, we have some concerns. We've got to keep an eye, unfortunately, outside the United States. China is trying to slow their economy down a bit, and they haven't done that very often. So their soft hand on the faucet may actually crank them down too fast. If that happens, you'll see some of the supplies that typically go into China, looking for some other places to get sold, and U.S. market's one of the strongest in the world right now. Europeans, they've been pretty soft for the last 3 years. You've seen their currency get weaker as the dollar's gotten 25% stronger against the euro in just the last 2 months. But the positive thing there is that even though those economies are having some challenges, we're seeing some really strong initiatives by the governments there. In Japan, they are starting to put the quantitative easing into place, and starting March 9th, I think I heard $1.6 trillion of quantitative easing is going to occur in Europe. They've looked at how it helped the United States over the last 4 years, and so they're going to give that a try to see if it can have the same impact on their economies. And that would be great for us. If their economies firm up, it takes less pressure off of the U.S. It means less focus on us as an end market, and people beginning to spread their goods around the world. As Eli said, as he was coming off the stage there, the one thing that could disrupt our party for 2015 would be that the world growth rate contracts. Right now we're looking at modest growth on a worldwide basis, but anything significant in Europe, China, Japan, or Korea that would disrupt their modest growth rates would have a negative impact on our manufacturers, because we'd see more competition, and it would be not only in quantity, but with changes in prices, making it the margins even tougher to hold. But again, I see that as an outside shot. Give it maybe 10–15% chance of happening. I think overwhelming possibilities are that we'll finish this year up in the high single digits over 2014.
Now, anecdotally, just one thing to wrap it up, as you've been talking about or talking to members and attendees here, how are they feeling about business? You got basically 3 different types of members here. You've got people who sell the expensive capital equipment, machines that cost $300,000 and up from there. You've got people who sell equipment that is a $250,000 and down, and then you've got our members who sell the things that go on the equipment, the cutting tools, the work holding devices, spindles, bearings, and so their perspective about what's going on is a little bit different. That last group, guys who sell the spindles and the bearings, the cutting tools, the work holding, they're ecstatic. Industrial production index continues to grow. The Purchasing Managers Index still above 50. That means things are being made, and that we're continuing to grow the amount of things we make, which means that machines, which will last quite a while, are turning and are using their consumables, and they're able to replace those consumables at a pretty good rate. And the cutting tool numbers have been pretty awesome over the course of the last quarter, and we're expecting them to be pretty strong in the beginning of this year. But on the capital equipment side, we still got, like I said before, those guys who make the expensive machines, they had a normal December. So their January was pretty good. And if you were able to take them out and hold them up by themselves, they probably saw January better than January of 2014 and on par with their December. It's that first group I was talking about, the guys who make machines under $225,000. Typically they have an opportunity to inventory some of those because they need very little to be done to them before they go out on the floor. Those guys are the ones who didn't have a great start to 2015. Well, thanks for all of your insight today. It's good to be here in sunny, warm Florida.
Well, thank you, and we'll see you next month.